The vast chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the doors slid open. Two humans walked in, their footsteps echoing on the polished floor. Admiral John Carter strode with military precision, his weathered face showing no emotion. Beside him, diplomat Lisa Murray smiled warmly, her eyes taking in the 27 alien representatives seated in a towering semicircle. Species 28 approaches the council, announced the moderator, a tall blue-skinned being with 4 arms. Humans of Earth seek observer status. Whispers filled the chamber. Many council members leaned forward, studying the newcomers with curiosity or barely hidden disdain. "They look so fragile," muttered a reptilian Xerixian to his aide. How did such soft creatures survive on a death world? Earth had been discovered just 3 months ago. The planet had surprised galactic scouts with its unified global alliance, formed after humans had nearly destroyed themselves through climate disasters 50 years earlier. By 2087, they had rebuilt and were taking their first steps into interstellar space when council ships made contact. Admiral Carter stopped at the designated spot and nodded to Lisa, who stepped forward. "Esteemed council members," she began, her voice clear and steady. "Earth extends friendship to all species gathered here. We come seeking knowledge and peaceful exchange." The moderator's upper hands tapped at a control panel. "Your species profile is interesting. Your planet's gravity, radiation levels, atmospheric toxins, and temperature extremes should have prevented advanced life from developing. Yet you not only survived but thrived." "We adapt," Admiral Carter said simply. A hulking Xerixian representative rose from his seat. His scales gleamed under the chamber lights as he bared sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "The Council should understand what these humans truly are," he said, voice rumbling. "Their history shows non-stop warfare. They poison themselves for pleasure. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. They sleep, becoming completely vulnerable, yet predators on their world fear them." He pointed a clawed finger at the humans. "They are dangerous." Lisa smiled. "We prefer to think of ourselves as resourceful. Earth has taught us to endure." The chamber erupted in debate. Some species argued for caution, while others showed curiosity. Through it all, the humans waited patiently. The Artaxian elder, oldest member of the council, raised a withered hand for silence. All eyes turned to the ancient being whose species had helped found the council 10,000 years ago. "I sense something unusual in these humans," the elder said, milky eyes studying the visitors. "They stand before us showing deference, yet I sense no fear. Most new species tremble before the council." Admiral Carter met the elder's gaze. "We respect the council's achievements and wisdom, but humans have faced extinction many times. We have learned that fear rarely helps in difficult situations." This statement caused even more murmurs among the council. After hours of debate, the council granted Earth observer status by a narrow vote. As John and Lisa were escorted to their quarters, a small purple-skinned aide approached them. "Was it wise to be so honest?" the aide asked. "The Xerixians already see you as threats." Lisa smiled. "Honesty builds better foundations than deception." "Besides," Admiral Carter added quietly, "it's better they know some truths about us now." Not all at once. Back in the chamber, the Artaxian elder sat alone, deep in thought. In his 10,000 years, he had seen many species come and go. But something about these humans stirred an ancient feeling he had not experienced in millennia. Concern. The humans had been polite, diplomatic, and respectful. They had followed all protocols perfectly. Yet beneath their friendly demeanor, the elder had sensed something that the other council members had missed, a quiet, unshakable confidence that came only from a species that had faced the void and never blinked. The humans were indeed dangerous, not because they wished harm, but because they were survivors above all else. And survivors could become the most fearsome force in the galaxy if ever truly threatened. 5 years passed quickly. The initial curiosity about humans had faded, replaced by an uneasy respect among most council species. Ambassador Patricia Wells now led the human diplomatic team, having taken over from Lisa Murray 2 years ago. She sat calmly at the curved table reserved for observer species, watching the council debate trade routes with practiced patience. "The human delegation requests to speak," announced the moderator. Ambassador Wells stood, her simple blue uniform a contrast to the elaborate robes and armor worn by other species. "The Earth Alliance wishes to propose joint security patrols in the Orion Arm. Pirates have attacked 3 merchant vessels in the past month. We offer 5 ships to assist with peacekeeping efforts." The Xerixian representative, General Kors, laughed loudly. 5 ships? What good are 5 human vessels against pirate fleets? Your ships are primitive compared to proper council fleets. Patricia smiled politely. "Quality over quantity, General. Our ships are more than capable." "Let them try," whispered a small green Vanturi representative to his neighbor. "The humans have surprised us before." Indeed, Earth had been advancing rapidly. In 5 short years, they had adapted council technology and created unique hybrid systems that some species found remarkable, even worrying. Admiral Frank Nelson now commanded Earth's small but growing fleet, which had begun conducting its own patrols along the edges of human space. After the session, Patricia met with representatives from 7 smaller council species in a private chamber. Unlike the early days, humans now had allies. "The Xerixians grow more hostile," said Kelp, the furred Vanturi diplomat. "They have moved warships closer to your colony on Proxima Centauri." Patricia nodded. "We've noticed. Admiral Nelson has taken appropriate measures." She did not elaborate, and none asked for details. The smaller species had learned that humans preferred to understate their military capabilities. 2 days later, news spread through council space. A notorious pirate fleet had ambushed a human supply ship near the Taurus Gap. Instead of an easy target, the pirates found themselves caught between the supply ship, which turned out to be heavily armed, and 2 human patrol vessels that appeared from behind a nearby moon. In the council viewing chamber, representatives watched the battle footage with shock. The human ships moved with unexpected speed and precision. They did not use the standard tactic of overwhelming firepower. Instead, they disabled the pirate vessels with surgical strikes to engines and weapon systems. Within minutes, 17 pirate ships were floating helplessly in space. Not one was destroyed. "They could have vaporized those ships," the Artaxian elder commented to a group of stunned council members. "Instead, they chose to capture them intact." General Kors watched with narrowed eyes. A lucky encounter, nothing more. But after the 3rd such lucky encounter in 2 months, even the Xerixians could not dismiss human combat effectiveness. At a closed meeting of the Xerixian High Command, General Kors pounded his scaled fist on the table. "These humans advance too quickly. They adapt our technology and improve upon it within months. Their ships are few but dangerous. Their diplomatic influence grows daily among the smaller species. What do you propose?" asked Emperor Varex, his ancient scales dull in the dim light. "A demonstration," Kors growled. "Something to remind these primates of their place." Meanwhile, on the human flagship U.S. Defender, Admiral Nelson reviewed the latest intelligence reports with Captain Eric Russell. "The Xerixians are moving ships toward the research outpost on Eos," Russell noted, pointing to the holographic display. Nelson's face remained impassive. "Inform Ambassador Wells. Double the security detail at all research stations, and activate Protocol Shadow, quietly." "Do you think they'll actually attack, sir?" The Admiral's eyes hardened. "I think the Xerixians don't yet understand what would happen if they did." Back on the council homeworld, Patricia Wells felt her secure communicator vibrate. She read the message from Earth and took a deep breath. 5 years of careful diplomacy was about to be tested. Humans had been patient, respectful, and measured in their responses to provocations. But patience had limits, and the Xerixians were about to discover them. The emergency council session began in chaos. Ambassador Patricia Wells stood alone at the center of the chamber, her face pale but composed. On the massive display behind her, Images of destruction played in a continuous loop. The smoking ruins of the EO's research station, bodies of human scientists floating in space, the station's remains scattered across the moon's surface. 42 human lives lost, Patricia stated flatly. Scientists, researchers, people who were studying planetary formation, not building weapons. The council chamber buzzed with shocked conversations. Many species had grown to respect humans over the past 5 years. Some had even begun to like them. The moderator called for order. The Xerixian delegation has requested to speak. General Kors strode forward, his battle armor gleaming under the lights. The destruction of the human outpost is regrettable, he said without a trace of regret in his voice. However, our intelligence confirmed they were developing forbidden weapons technology. We acted to maintain galactic security. Lies, Patricia said calmly. And you know it. The chamber fell silent at her direct accusation. Such bluntness violated council protocol. The human questions the honor of the Xerixian Empire, Kors growled, hand moving to the ceremonial blade at his side. I state facts, General. Our outpost contained no weapons research. Your attack was unprovoked genocide. The Artaxian elder raised a hand. What does Earth demand in response to this incident? Patricia took a small device from her pocket and activated it. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared, with 3 star systems highlighted. The Xerixian Empire will withdraw completely from these 3 border systems. They will pay reparations for the 42 lives lost. They will issue a formal apology to Earth. Laughter erupted from the Xerixian delegation. Emperor Verex himself stepped forward, his ancient scales reflecting the chamber's lights. You are in no position to make demands, human, he said. Your entire fleet could fit in one of our carrier bays. The Xerixian Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years. We do not apologize to primates who have barely left their home planet. Patricia nodded as if expecting this response. You have 48 hours to reconsider. After that time, Earth will consider itself at war with the Xerixian Empire. Shocked gasps filled the chamber. Even Earth's allies looked concerned. The human fleet consisted of barely 50 ships. The Xerixians commanded over 20,000. War? Emperor Verex laughed again. You would be exterminated in days. Patricia didn't respond to the taunt. Instead, she touched her communicator. Attention all human citizens. This is Emergency Protocol Delta. I repeat, Emergency Protocol Delta is now active. All humans in council space are to return to Earth or human colonies immediately. You have 48 hours. She looked up at the stunned council. Earth thanks those species who have shown us friendship. We hope to maintain those relationships in the future. With that, she walked out of the chamber. Over the next 2 days, humans throughout council space dropped everything and left. Diplomatic missions closed. Trade ships changed course. Human tourists boarded emergency shuttles. The exodus was quick, organized, and complete. And then, silence. All communication channels from Earth went dead. Trade networks shut down. Emergency frequencies fell quiet. Even the normal background chatter of human civilian communications disappeared. Earth had gone completely silent. At first, the council thought it was a technical problem, then a diplomatic protest. But as hours stretched into days with no contact, an uneasy feeling spread through the council chambers. What are they doing? Asked a nervous Vanturi representative. The Artaxian elder sat quietly in his private chamber, studying reports. He had lived long enough to recognize the signs. The humans weren't hiding in fear. They were preparing. They warned us, he whispered to himself. From the very beginning, they warned us. On the Xerixian throne world, Emperor Verex dispatched a battle group toward Earth. Show me these silent humans, he commanded. Break their pride. The battle group, 15 heavy warships, moved confidently toward the Sol system, ready to teach the upstart species a lesson in proper respect. They never returned. 2 weeks of absolute silence from Earth had passed. The council chamber no longer buzzed with casual conversation. Representatives spoke in hushed tones, casting nervous glances at the empty human seat. "Still no word?" asked the Vanturi representative, his green fur standing on end. The moderator shook his head. "All attempts at contact have failed." A junior Xerixian officer rushed into the chamber and approached General Kors. After a brief whispered conversation, the general's scales paled visibly. "Is there a problem, General?" asked the moderator. "Our battle group is simply delayed," Kors replied, his voice lacking its usual confidence. The Artaxian elder spoke up. "A battle group of 15 warships does not simply get delayed." "What happened to your ships, General?" Before Kors could respond, a council intelligence officer entered the chamber. "Esteemed council members, we have detected unusual activity in the Sol system." The main display activated, showing sensor readings from near Earth's orbit. Massive energy signatures pulsed around the planet and its moon. Strange structures were visible, their purpose unclear. "What are we seeing?" asked a reptilian representative. "We believe the humans are building something," the intelligence officer replied. "Our long-range sensors detect fleet movements throughout their system, but they've established interference fields preventing detailed scans." The Artaxian elder rose from his seat, his ancient body trembling not with age but with worry. "I warned this council when humans first arrived. They showed us courtesy, not weakness. They displayed restraint, not inability. Their silence is not surrender." General Kors snorted. "Your concern is misplaced, Elder. The human homeworld has barely 50 ships. The Xerixian Empire has thousands. Then why have your 15 warships not returned?" the Elder asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. Emperor Varex himself addressed the council via holographic projection. "The Xerixian Empire will not be intimidated by primitive apes. I have dispatched our third fleet to the Sol system. 120 warships will remind these humans of their proper place in the galaxy." Several council members exchanged worried glances. The third fleet was one of the most powerful military forces in known space. 3 days later, the council received the news. The third fleet had also disappeared without a trace upon entering the Sol system. No distress calls, no debris fields. Simply gone. Panic spread through the council. Emergency sessions were called. Defense plans were drafted. Some species began withdrawing their representatives from the council homeworld. In a private meeting room, the leaders of 7 species gathered around the Artaxian elder. "What do you know of humans that we do not?" asked the Vanturi Prime. The elder closed his milky eyes. "When humans first arrived, I accessed their public historical records. What I found disturbed me. Humans have fought wars that killed millions of their own kind. They survived multiple near-extinction events. Their fiction, the stories they tell for entertainment, frequently involve scenarios where they face overwhelming odds and prevail." "Fiction is not reality," said another representative. "For most species, no," the elder agreed. "But humans blur that line. They imagine victory against impossible odds, then work to make it possible. They prepare for worst-case scenarios as a matter of habit." "What are you saying?" asked the Vanturi Prime. "I am saying that humans have likely been preparing for war against the entire council since the day they arrived. Not because they wanted it, but because they considered it a possibility they must be ready for." The elder opened his eyes. "And now, the Xerixians have provoked them." On the edge of the Sol system, a scout ship from a minor trading species observed from a safe distance. Their sensors recorded massive energy signatures as hundreds of new vessels emerged from Earth's orbital shipyards, vessels unlike any design seen before. When the scout ship's captain saw the size of the human fleet now assembling, he gave one order: return to council space. Now, the true scale of human preparation was finally becoming clear, and it was far more terrifying than anyone had imagined. On the 30th day of silence, Alarms blared throughout the council station. A single ship had appeared near the central docking bay, a human vessel, sleek and dark, unlike their previous designs. "A human ship has requested emergency docking," announced the station's eye. They claimed diplomatic rights. The council members rushed to the emergency session chamber. Fear and curiosity battled in their expressions as they took their seats. The main doors slid open. Captain Susan Miller walked in alone, dressed in a simple black uniform with silver trim. No weapons were visible, but she carried a small data device in her hand. "Captain Susan Miller of Earth," she announced calmly. "I bring a message from the Earth Alliance." The chamber remained silent. Even General Kors, normally quick with threats or insults, watched the human with wary eyes. The moderator finally spoke. "The Council recognizes Earth's representative. We have been concerned about your silence." Susan nodded. 30 days ago, Ambassador Wells delivered an ultimatum to the Xerixian Empire following their unprovoked attack on our research station. The terms were ignored. As promised, Earth considered itself at war. "Where are the Xerixian fleets?" demanded a junior Xerixian officer, unable to contain himself. Susan activated her data device. The chamber's main display lit up with footage that made many representatives gasp. The recording showed the massive Xerixian Third Fleet, 120 warships, among the most powerful vessels in known space, floating dead in space. No visible damage marked their hulls. They simply drifted, powerless and dark. "The first battle group met the same fate," Susan explained. "All crew members are alive and unharmed. They have been placed in stasis pods and are ready for return to Xerixian space." What did you do to them?" asked the Vanturi representative, his voice barely audible. "That information is classified," Susan replied. "What matters is what we did not do. We did not destroy them. We did not harm their crews. We showed restraint." General Kors stood, shaking with rage. "This is a trick. Deception. The humans cannot possibly have technology to disable our fleet without firing a shot. Yet here we are," Susan said simply, gesturing to the evidence on screen. "For 5 years, we showed you what we wanted you to see. A small fleet, limited technology, respectful diplomacy. We hope to join the galactic community as peaceful partners." The Artaxian elder leaned forward. "Why reveal your true capabilities now? You could have remained hidden." Susan's expression softened slightly. "Because true peace cannot be built on deception. Earth has always developed defensive capabilities beyond what we display publicly. Our history taught us to prepare for worst-case scenarios." She turned to face the entire council. "Humanity does not want war. We want fair trade, cultural exchange, and mutual security. But we will not be bullied, threatened, or attacked without consequence." The chamber fell into stunned silence. "What are your terms?" the moderator finally asked. "Justice for the 42 murdered scientists, the 3 border systems we originally requested, and a new security treaty that acknowledges Earth as a full council member, not merely an observer." Emperor Varex's hologram appeared, his ancient face twisted with rage. "The Xerixian Empire does not surrender to lesser species." Susan didn't even look at him. "Your empire has already lost, Emperor. You just haven't accepted it yet." She turned back to the council. "I have been authorized to inform you that if our terms are rejected, the full Earth Defense Fleet will deploy. We would rather this not be necessary." The threat hung in the air, made all the more terrifying by her calm delivery. The Artaxian elder broke the silence. "If what you have shown us was accomplished with restraint, what would Earth be capable of without it?" Susan smiled slightly. "Let's hope we never need to find out." As the council debated in urgent whispers, Susan stood quietly, her posture relaxed yet alert. She represented a species that had gone silent not out of fear, but because they needed to focus on what they did best, preparing for war while hoping for peace. The council now understood why humans had always seemed so confident. They hadn't been bluffing. They had simply been patient. 1 month after Captain Miller's dramatic appearance, the council chambers were transformed. The curved table that once marked Earth as an observer species had been replaced by a full council seat. Ambassador Patricia Wells sat there now, flanked by 2 aides, as she reviewed the newly signed Galactic Security Treaty. "The terms are acceptable," she said, applying her thumbprint to the document. "Earth welcomes this new chapter in our relationship with the Council." Across the chamber, Emperor Verex and General Kors stood in the center area, their scales dull and their postures stiff. They wore simple gray garments instead of their usual ornate armor, the traditional clothing of the accused in council law. "Xerixian Emperor Verex and General Kors, you have been found guilty of ordering an unprovoked attack resulting in 42 deaths, announced the moderator. By unanimous council vote, you are sentenced to rebuild the EO's research station with your own labor and to personally deliver reparations to the families of each victim. The Emperor's eyes flashed with hatred, but he remained silent. The once mighty Xerixian Empire had lost not just a military confrontation, but also its standing in the council. With their fleets returned but thoroughly humbled, the Xerixians had been forced to accept human terms. After the formal proceedings, Patricia met with a group of council representatives who had requested access to human historical records. "We have prepared these files for your research," she said, handing over a data crystal. "You will find our complete military history available for study." The Vanturi scientist who received the crystal looked nervous. "Is it true the humans fought thousands of wars against each other?" Patricia nodded. "Over 15,000 documented conflicts in our recorded history. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times." "Yet you survived," said the Artaxian elder who had joined the group, "and apparently learned from each conflict." Later that day, the research team gathered in a private viewing room to examine the human records. What they found shocked them deeply. World War II involved over 30 nations and claimed more than 70 million lives, read the Vanturi scientist. And this was before they had nuclear weapons. "Their Cold War is fascinating," noted another researcher. "Two superpowers developed enough weapons to destroy their planet many times over, yet never directly fought each other." The Artaxian elders studied the military strategies from various human conflicts. "Look at how they adapted. Each new technology changed their tactics. They never fought the same way twice. And their fiction," added another researcher. "They imagined alien invasions, cosmic threats, and doomsday scenarios centuries before reaching space. They mentally prepared for every possible threat." As the council members studied human history more deeply, a new understanding began to spread through galactic society. Humans weren't naturally warlike. They simply had more experience with conflict than any council species. Their apparent restraint wasn't a sign of weakness, but a hard-won wisdom from countless battles. A week later, Ambassador Wells officially introduced the new human diplomatic corps to the council. 50 men and women took their positions throughout the council structure, working in various departments and committees. "Humans make excellent mediators," commented a council security officer, watching 2 human diplomats resolve a trade dispute that had stalled for years. "They understand both aggression and compromise better than most species." In the main chamber, Patricia addressed the full council. "Earth thanks those who supported us in our time of need. We invite all species to visit our worlds, trade with our merchants, and exchange knowledge with our scientists." The Artaxian elder, seated beside her, spoke softly so only she could hear. "Your people went silent, and the galaxy trembled. Now you speak again, and we listen with new ears." Patricia smiled. "We never wanted fear, only respect." "You have earned both," the elder replied. "Though I suspect most species would prefer to keep you as friends rather than enemies." Throughout council space, species that had barely noticed humans before now studied them carefully, not with hostility, but with newfound respect, and in many cases, relief that these formidable beings sought peace rather than conquest. 5 years had passed since Earth revealed its true capabilities to the Galactic Council. The U.S. Defender, now the flagship of the Joint Exploration Fleet, drifted in orbit around an uncharted world at the edge of known space. Its hull gleamed in the light of an alien sun, twice the size of any previous Council exploration vessel. On the bridge, Captain Eric Russell studied the sensor readings with quiet focus. Beside him stood First Officer Maria Diaz and 12 representatives from Council species, all part of the unprecedented joint expedition. "The readings match our predictions," Maria said, pointing to the data. "This system has been visited before." Captain Russell nodded. "And not by friendly explorers, it seems." For the past year, reports had reached the Council about ships disappearing along the galactic rim. Investigation revealed a previously unknown species had been raiding unprotected worlds. The Council had debated for months about how to respond. The Defender's mission was the answer: find the source of these attacks and establish contact, peaceful if possible. "Unknown vessels approaching," announced the sensor officer. 8 ships, heavy armor, weapons hot. The Council representatives tensed. This far from home, they were completely dependent on the human crew. Captain Russell didn't even stand up. Standard greeting protocol. Shields at 50%, visible but not threatening. The alien ships surrounded the Defender, their jagged designs unlike anything in Council records. A harsh transmission burst through the ship's speakers, a series of aggressive sounds the translators couldn't process. "They're scanning us," Maria reported, "and targeting our engines." One of the Council observers, a Vantari scientist, spoke nervously. "Captain, their weapons are powering up. Shouldn't we raise shields to maximum?" Eric smiled slightly. "That would signal fear or hostility. Let's try something else." He nodded to Maria, who pressed a control. The Defender's outer hull panel shifted, revealing rows of weapon ports that had been hidden since the expedition began. They didn't fire. They simply became visible. The alien ships immediately backed away. "Now they're listening," Eric said. "Send the greeting package again." Within an hour, the situation had transformed. The alien ships, belonging to a species that called themselves the Krivik, escorted the Defender to their command base. Through careful diplomacy and the clear but unstated promise of overwhelming force if necessary, Captain Russell established the first communication. The truth emerged quickly. The Krivak had been victims themselves, driven from their home systems by an even more aggressive force from beyond the rim. They had been raiding to gather resources for survival. 2 weeks later, the Defender returned to Council space. In the Grand Chamber, Captain Russell and First Officer Diaz presented their report to the assembled representatives. "The Krivik threat has been neutralized," Eric explained. "Not through destruction, but through alliance. They now understand that raiding Council worlds will bring consequences, while cooperation offers protection." Maria continued, "We've established a joint defense outpost at the edge of Krivak space. Their ships will join ours in patrolling against the greater threat they fled from." The Council members murmured among themselves, impressed by the resolution achieved without bloodshed. Yet none missed the implication that humans were already preparing for the next potential threat beyond known space. As the briefing concluded, the Artaxian elder addressed the full Council. "5 years ago, humans went silent, and we knew fear," the elder said, his ancient voice carrying through the chamber. "We feared what we did not understand. Now we understand better. Humans prepare for the worst while working for the best." He gestured toward Eric and Maria. "When humans go silent, it is not in retreat. It is the moment they stop restraining themselves and focus their remarkable minds on solving a problem, whether diplomacy or battle." Captain Russell stepped forward. "Earth doesn't seek to dominate the Council or frighten our allies. We seek only a galaxy where all species can thrive without fear." The Council representatives rose in a standing ovation, a human custom they had adopted for special occasions. As Eric and Maria left the chamber, a young Xerixian diplomat approached them. "My grandfather told stories about the day humans went silent," he said. "He taught me that respect is better than fear." Maria smiled. We prefer friends to enemies, and allies to subjects, Eric added. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. Humans would lead not through conquest, but through example. Their silence had once brought fear. Their actions now brought hope.